Everything is personal right here. Everything is personal right here.
The way I found out I was adopted, I was about 6 years old, and it was after the first grade. And they wanted us, I was tested for everything, by the way, in the second grade. So in the first grade, they're talking about get a hamster, this was back in the 70s where they wanted you to, we had one in the classroom and you should go get a gerbil or you should go get a hamster. And my dad hates rodents, any kind, birds, any kind of, I mean, just, and when I say hates, he has a phobia. It's not that he hates them, just he's, will jump up on the table. And so he told my mom, we are not getting a rat. And we go to the SPCA as a family. And I pick out a dog, which I loved. Lucy was her name. And we're in the car. And my sister, who is 14, looks down at me and says, "This is how we got you." And I mean, I remember it. Part of the ADHD with exceptionality is eidetic, and I remember a lot of things actually in detail. Oh, I remember it, man. I curled up in the floorboard and bawled to my mom that it wasn't true, and she told me it was, and they tried to explain it. Um, I had a very narcissistic family. My mother, my father, um, my sister became just like my mother. I could sit here and tell horror story after horror story. Um, I'll give you an example, and this will also tell you some of my past. Um, I had an instance in the first grade, I wouldn't shut up. Okay. Would not keep my mouth shut, talking. I'm smart, but just will not. And I had a teacher ask me in front of the whole class, "Are you stupid?" This was towards the end of the year of the school. And I kind of stood up, yelled, pushed a desk. I'm 5 years old. Uh, and they sit me out in the hallway. But remember, I'm in a school that's literally up a hill from my house. So I literally, at 5 years old, walked home. Oh, school was looking for me, called the police, etc. Now, I grew up, we had a maid who came to our house every day, did our laundry, did all that. We weren't rich, but my mother grew up with these things. So with both of them working, they paid for it. My father was a tin man. What I mean by that is a home improvement salesman. I grew up, by the way, in the home improvement industry, at least as it, my uncle owned Thermal Guard and my other uncle owned Alcoa.
Wow.
So my dad was actually sales manager for a lot of, it's why I'm good at talking to people. It's the only thing I learned other than how to dodge a punch, how to, I had a sister 8 years older than me, was a tomboy, beat the hell out of me every day. My parents knew about it. And when I got old enough to fight back and started realizing she was very well endowed in the chest, that I could hit her in the chest and it would hurt her the way, they made a rule because she complained that I wasn't allowed to hit her in the chest and she wasn't allowed to hit me in the balls. So literally, and she's 8 years older than me, plays basketball, softball. So we're talking when I'm 8 years old, she's 16.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So
I walked
your
home.
parents,
I walked
yeah,
home.
yeah,
They
I'm
made
sorry.
me come back. The maid made me come back,
Yeah.
and they set me up for testing in the second grade. In this, and they also thought I was dyslexic.
Yeah.
What was going on there was I needed glasses. My parents were told I needed glasses. And because I had ADHD, they lied. My mom admitted a lot. Me and my mom, by the way, I hated her guts until I had kids. And she had some heart issues. And I think she went through some therapy because her and I had a couple conversations where she apologized. She admitted to things where I loved my mother to death. She was, I don't want to say a saint to me because she did all the things she did. But for me to have all these things that I had believed, and of course, being gaslit my whole life, even up until my 30s, for her to go, yeah, I'm sorry, and become my biggest supporter after that, if you understand.
Yeah.
So, but I grew up in, yeah. So let me get back. Second grade, I spent literally almost a month and a half over in the corner doing testing while everybody else is doing class. Little where you fill in the little pips.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know they did them for standardized, but I'm in the second grade, dude, doing this.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. My recollection of it may be longer than it really was. It may be a week. You understand. I was 6, 7 years old. They came back and told my parents that I was autistic, that I was special. I don't know what term they used. To give you an example, that I had a cumulative IQ of 157. Now that may sound like, oh shit, he's Hawking's. It's actually a disability. Uh, the second grade, the test was I had 11th grade reading comprehension in the second grade. I understood stuff pretty much like an adult, which my parents did something that messed with me for almost the rest of my life. I'll tell you that story later. But my parents were told I would need special schooling. And of course, my mother screamed at him how I was going to grow up normal. It was a matter of money. But my grandfather bought her a new town car every other year. My grandparents were millionaires. I haven't even told you about my biological parents.
Well, I'm waiting for that.
Yeah. So anyway, I start therapy. I have the problems I have at home. I have parents that ignore me, that only want me to, and I'm super genius, I'm taking toys apart, I'm getting into things. My sister, to give you an example, had a coin collection, and we were treated differently. My sister was given everything, I got stuff on my birthdays and Hanukkah. By the way, I grew up Jewish. I am not practicing Jewish. I am baptized. I do. If we're going to do my religion, I have been everything from going to rabbinical school. That was one of the ways. And as a teenager, they tried before institutions. They tried to fix me. Um, I have been a deacon in a independent fundamentalist Baptist church, and I've been a pagan. I'm a second degree Gardnerian, actually inducted by Bowman Hal Miner, who was a 70-year-old psychologist who studied paganism most his life. He was a Presbyterian minister for a while as well. Anything I do, I have to do it right. It's this obsession with me that if I take on and do something, I can't half do it, and I can't go, oh, well, I'll go. I went and found somebody when I started studying paganism that could really teach me, that I could learn from, not just an older person who'd read a bunch of books. So I really made a search of it. But after all that, and this is, by the way, before my kids became older, at least my younger two children. I now my kids grew up Christian, went to Christian schools. They were homeschooled actually after middle school. We had some incidents where it was better to just bring them home. And but I'm sorry, man, remind me.
You were talking about how you were treated differently first.
Oh, my sister, yeah.
Yeah.
So she had a coin collection. I go down rabbit holes. I'm sorry, and thank you for keeping me on point. Had a coin collection. She was always given stuff. So I, of course, want to look at it. I, of course, want to see what she got because I don't get new things. I don't get, you know. And my grandparents had sent it to her. They sent me $20. They sent her gold Roman coins, and I mean real Roman coins. Big collection of just odd coins. And I decided they were going to be a treasure, and I was going to go bury them. I was a shitty brother, sorry, but I did, and I lost them. My sister, when she found out, swung me around, and remember, I am at this time 4 or 5 years old. Okay. And she is 12 or 13. Swings me around like a rag doll and throws me up against a wall. Now, had I hit a stud, I wouldn't be here. Ripped my shoulder out of the socket. I actually had my shoulder fixed in the garage office area of one of my uncles by a very prominent orthopede. I'm not going to say his name, but this was all done out of hospital, out of. So that's my life, man. I was the kid. My dad was a pacifist. Never taught me how to fight, and my sister did, and I learned how to not get hurt when somebody's hitting me. But
So you already established the fact that you were, treated differently, being adopted, possibly.
and then as far as like the neighborhood, there were 20 kids. Remember, we lived right in front of a school circle, 60, probably 20 kids. I was the kid nobody was parents would say to me, they're not allowed to play. If I went to their door, they're not allowed to play with you.
Wow.
I had parents who I was the demon child of the neighborhood. Every kid blamed it. I was bullied by everybody.
Yeah.
People would be my friend and play with me one day, and then if other people came around, didn't let you understand
Yeah.
the mentality of children there, and that's how I grew up. But I did things like there's a great story I tell where the school I told you about, they were building a gym, and they had a tractor down there. Well, me with my ADHD and all that, I go explore everything, I do everything. I figured out how to start the tractor. Well, and it's on a big ass blacktop. So no, I didn't joyride. I'm a little more devious than that. I went and told all the kids up in the neighborhood about it. And I showed them how to start it. They get on it, and you're talking like 20 kids. Some of them don't even know I did this. And if they watch this podcast, this is how they're finding out. I was about 8, 9 years old. And they all went down and they started playing. And while they were riding it around on the blacktop, taking turns and all that, I snuck off. Well, remember, my house, literally, you went out my back door and you looked. So I could see out my bedroom window all of them doing this. I called the police and watched all of them get arrested and watched all of their parents come down. None of them told on me. And later they were like, yeah, that sucked. You left right at the right time. I was like, no, I know, man. I had to get home. But yeah, I literally went and called the police on them and watched
Try
all
to get
that.
them back. Try to get all the bullies back.
Their stories, like my dad will tell you, there was, do you remember 7-Eleven used to have the cartons that you could go door to door and collect money for 7-Eleven for muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
And if you collected the most money, you got a bike from that 7-Eleven or a big stuffed animal or all that. Well, and it was a sealed milk cart. I used to do that every year. I wanted the bike. As long as I could remember, and we had all the apartments and everything all around us, I could go hit hundreds of homes and get, just knock on the door. Will you give to muscular dystrophy? Well, I was outside of what's called a U-Crops, and that's a grocery store, a very high-end grocery store here in Virginia. They're no longer around, but they're very well known. And I was standing out in front, and it was hot. And like I said, I'm about 9 years old, 8, this all within a 3-year period, because right around 11 is where my world went bad, really bad. And I go into the store, and people are all there. Used to be chairs. You don't see it anymore in grocery stores, but there used to have like a line of chairs right at the entrance
Mhm.
that people could sit in. And then right beside that, most of them have a wheelchair. Well, and I didn't even think anything about this. All the chairs were filled. So I went and sat in the wheelchair. I got my little muscular dystrophy. I sat, people started putting, and this is in the 70s,
Yeah.
started putting $5 bills in, and, where I'm used to just getting change.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I didn't really, my dad walked in and saw it because this is neighborhood,
Yeah.
When we were younger, I roamed up to about 3 miles from my house on a bike.
Yeah.
I don't know how you were, but
Of
we
course.
weren't as governed, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. No,
And
you're a latchkey kid. Your parents work, you're home doing your thing after you come home from school and riding your bike and hanging out with your friends. I mean, we did the same thing.
when I was 13 and 14, I would ride my bike 15 miles to go see. It would take me a couple hours, but I would go see friends that were like that I knew just via the phone, ride my bike about 15 miles. It would take me 2 hours there and 2 hours back, but that way I could spend the day and then
Yeah.
ride. And a lot of times those people's parents would throw my bike into their car and bring me home.
Yeah.
So yeah, we roamed
Yeah. I did
like
the same
quite a bit. I mean, I was older then, but so anyway, that
thing.
that was after I got out of the institutions. Um,
So I want to ask you a question that you sort of alluded to, but I want to kind of unpack it a little bit about, your biological sister finding you and all
yeah.
that. So
So
so you
I have a
you have this
genius.
lifestyle. What?
I have a super genius IQ.
Yeah, yeah,
I because of the ADHD and because of the autism,
yeah.
my disabilities, I don't have the bridge that allows me to access and use it all the time. Like, your IQ isn't really. I mean, it is how smart you are, but it's really your ability to learn. It's not you have all this knowledge and these things. My wife can tell you all kinds of things I do where other people are like, holy cow, how did you even think of that? That's the ability, but it's not boom, I'm Einstein. I had and this will also just to tell you, I saw a paradox psychologists, Dr. Lieberman and Dr. Lipschitz,
Yeah.
believe it or not, real names, who explained to my parents after they did all their testing, and this was after I was put in a place called St. Joseph's Villa, which was a group home. All this is local to my family. So I haven't been sent, I did get sent off after a while, like away. But this is all local and we're seeing them. And after all the testing, they explained to my mother that and my parents that I am part of the 0.001% of the population in my intelligence range. And my mother looked at him and said, that's great. How do you get them to go to sleep? So I'm being told my whole life, and I'll get back to
Yeah.
what you were asking, how smart I am, but being put in LDED classes and things along those
Well,
lines.
I also think part of the AD, so I was diagnosed with the ADHD, less H, more more sort of a dreamer, everything like I have all these thoughts in my head. And I started doing the research on ADHD and I didn't know about the exceptional part. So that's interesting that you brought that up. But you're born with depletion of dopamine. So your brain is always looking for that squirt of dopamine. So you have scroll moments all the time. Next, 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 because you're trying to get the dopamine. But when something stimulates you tremendously, you can hyper focus on that more than anyone else because you're getting the dopamine released back and forth. So that's why it's people need to understand what it is. And then once you do, you can navigate around that. But as kids, nobody knew that. You just thought, hey, that's a trouble kid. That's a kid who disrupts class all the time. That's what I used to have.
Well, what I love
Underachiever,
is they put us on Ritalin.
right?
I mean, I did the Ritalin. I
Yeah.
did everything. And remember, my mom rejected, excuse me, rejected autism. I say my mom, my dad was my mom's stooge. If you under my mom was the commander of our house. My dad, of course, in public, my dad is, but yeah, no, my mom ruled school, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I forgot where I was going with this, man. I'm sorry. Uh, that's again the brain injury.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're talking about ADHD
oh
and
yeah. So let's get back to biological.
yeah.
So I'm really smart, got a lot of problems. I'm living in a horrific trauma. I'm extremely empathic. I have the superpower, and it was one of the reasons I'm amazing in sales and I'm amazing doing security work as far as like uh, dealing with people. Um, I literally can look at people and tell what they're feeling. I know it sounds like I'm describing some superpower, but it's from being in an environment that's so unsafe my whole life that I have to learn to be able to read people to make sure that I act appropriately so that I don't upset them. So, that was my home environment.
Right.
And you take my intelligence, you take my ability to understand. Again, to give you another example, my parents, we were in therapy all the time. I did family therapy, I did individual therapy since I was like in the third grade. And because my parents were told I was autistic, my mother would not accept that. We then started going to all the therapists and finally found one that said ADHD with and she accepted the ADHD with exceptionality. And went, from there, so to speak. Now, let's go back to the biological because I'm going down rabbit holes again. Uh, I had my sister find me. This was after my accident. I was actually involved with a Discovery Channel TV
Yeah.
show called Sons of Guns. I was at the time working on getting my own show. They were helping me, and she discovered me. I got a call from my biological sister going, I talked to Jewish Family Services, and they uh, told me that you may well be my brother. And she goes, they wouldn't really confirm, but I've checked this, checked that, the hospital. She did all her due diligence. So I said, well, let me call Jewish Family Services. She said, they need to talk to you. And up until probably 10 years ago, uh, I gave my parents a pass for everything. It was all me. I was a bad kid. It took a lot of therapy and a lot of looking at them. And then, like I said, me and my mother had conversations where we discussed it and she admitted it. Um, but so uh, she finds me. I go down and, well, I talk to her. Now, I'll tell you what I found out. My biological grandfather is Joseph A. Stern, who was an MIT professor, a NASA scientist, part of the Viking project in the 70s. He was one of the lead scientists, and he started the Bionetics Corporation out of Hampton, Virginia. They do all the sterilization and tests, create all the tests for NASA and the military. They're a defense contractor. They're worth a lot. So his daughter, he was in, I believe, Berkeley at the time. He may have been at Caltech. I don't know what college, but he was teaching at a college in California. They were living in Venice Beach, uh, and his 17-year-old daughter was dating a biker, like a biker, not just a guy who likes bikes, but a older biker. They didn't know it. This all I found out from my biological mother through my biological sister. My biological mother will not meet me. So he was a larger girl. He got the job at Langley for NASA. They moved here to Virginia. From what I was told, the rabbi of his synagogue had to go to him, Dr. Stern, and explain to him that his daughter was pregnant. She was 8 months pregnant.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching and listening. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share this episode, and hit that bell. Like, comment, I so appreciate that. And check me out on social under Len May or Len May DNA. Find out more on LinkedIn or lenmaycoaching.com. And remember, everything is personal.